Hello, y'all.
Hi.
Welcome to Ivy Bound LA. Today we are so excited. We have a great show lined up for you today. So let's get right to it. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Steve.
And I'm Michelle.
And welcome again to Ivy Bound LA. Today we have an amazing, fun-packed show with some very good information for you. It's our very first live event, so we're super excited to have our next guest, our first guest, Marty Sellers, who's a mental health expert. Hey, Marty.
Hey, Steve, Michelle, what's going on? Hey, live. I'm your first guest on your live show. Hey!
Yes, sir. Listen, man, we're so excited. Marty's not just a mental health expert. He happens to be one of my very best friends the triad of friends I have. So yes, we're super excited to have you on today, Marty. We're going to have a great time chatting with you about supporting parents through the tween and teen years of their lives.
Yeah. Can I say this, God? Yeah. I am so proud of both of you guys for this. The information you guys are giving, but this is just not information that you've researched. This is information you guys have lived for getting your kids and your young, I can't call them boys anymore, young men through an Ivy League, a private education, and then getting them into Ivy League schools. Listen, I'm so proud of both of you guys. Listen, I should have been paying y'all and tutoring y'all how to get my own kids through some of these Ivy League stuff, because them ninjas is getting on my nerves and in my pocket. Oh, I'm sorry.
As they should.
This is a professional show. I'm sorry. Thank you for having me on your amazing show. I'm so glad and honored to be here.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you, man.
Yeah, thank you for doing this.
Yes.
So we wanted to talk to you and well, actually, we wanted you to introduce yourself and tell us what you do, because what you do is so valuable and people need to know.
Thank you. Well, I am Marty Sellers, and I go by the name of the mental health hygienist, because we need to take care of our mental hygiene, our mental health every day. Just like we take a shower every day, we need to take care of our mental health and make sure it is our focus on a daily basis. Whether you're 0, yes, our children can have some mental health issues, and to you 110, but from cradle to grave, we need to make sure that we are taking care of our mental health, because there's a direct correlation from our mental health to how we live and the life expectancy and satisfaction of who we are as individuals, especially in our Black and brown communities. Y'all know we need some help. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we're excited to talk to you because, we remember the tween and teen years and how challenging it was. Even though we made it through, but there's definitely the mental mindset and also the mental health part that, me being an educator, I see, we would be remiss not to talk about all the challenges that teens go through and how it affects their, their mental health. So, as parents, we desperately want our children to achieve greater success than us. I mean, of course, stand on our shoulders so that they can, achieve. There's that rub of we want them to learn from our mistakes and follow what we believe, what we think is a formula for success, even though they may have their own path. So kind of how do you motivate children to follow what you think is a formula for success, which you believe is the best plan for them, without the fighting and the screaming and ruining your relationship with them?
As a parent, sure. No,
a couple of times over, right?
Right. I'm still learning with that. you guys know each of our kids, and you guys have twins as well. And even though Miles and Isaiah are twins, they both have very distinct personalities.
Yeah.
They really do. And we have to learn. I'm learning now to parent from a strength perspective. And when I say that, I say we parent that child. Each one is going to be different. There are some basic foundations, some truths that remain truth. Listen, you going to school. We're going to do our best. But what I'm going to do is push you in the best. I look at parenting as almost like coaching. As a coach, the job as a coach is to pull the strengths out of that child, out of that player, and to see areas of weakness. And I think we if we approach parenting from the point of, yes, I'm your parent, but my job is also to help them to be a wonderful student. Whatever their strength is, whatever they're showing interest is, I want to help nurture that. And really getting to know, how do you do that? By getting to know your child, getting to know their likes, their dislikes, their interests, and not making sure that we're not imposing our own values, onto them. I'm going to fix this. My apologies. I'm fighting this camera. Making sure we're not imposing our own values on them.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm back. And making sure we're not imposing our own personal values on them, and listening to them. Listening to them. Listen to what their strengths are, listen to what their fears are, and not being afraid to also help push them a little bit and having those conversations. I think that is so key. How I treat my 31-year-old Raven is definitely different than how I treat my 23-year-old Christian, which is horribly different than the way I treat my, don't judge me, my 5-year-old Tony. Tony is, I thought Raven was emotional. Tony is, can I just have a hug? So yes, I'm here.
So she's working you.
She
or worked you.
Yeah, that's why I got all this gray.
Looking like Dr. Strange.
Oh, I will be nice because I'm your first guest. But Michelle.
Shots fired.
Hi, Kathy. We see you. Thank you for tuning in, Kathy.
Yes, thank you, Kathy. Listen, Michelle, I applaud you. Not only did you get your young men through this, but you got your husband through this too. And I know that was like parenting another a big.
Well, there we go. Let the games begin.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Michelle, right. God bless our babies.
Yes. You know Erickson's growth chart and developmental charts. I know you had to use it on your husband as well because he was stuck in some developmental challenges and everything. So I love Erickson and that whole developmental chart. I really do. Yes, God bless our babies. You're absolutely right, Kathy. I love that because it reminds me there are some things, especially our adolescents, our middle schools, they're going to give us attitude. That's just the way it comes with, and some days it takes all of Jesus for us not to jump on them.
Right. And not to take it personal, right?
And not to take,
Yeah.
I always go.
But that being said, how do you deal with the teenage emotional roller coaster that they go through? You know, especially as a parent, having to be confronted with that. How does going in as a parent? How do you confront that teenage roller coaster ride that apparently they always want us to have? You know what I mean? At some level, at some form, in some time of our rearing them, they all go through those things. So how do we become more aware and become more? I guess more of a, how would I say, on an offensive approach, instead of being on a defense.
Right. That's a great question.
Proactive, a better word to use.
Proactive, yes. We're proactively parenting our children from a strength-based perspective. And how do I do that? Some days, some days it takes me a couple glasses of red wine just to manage. Now, for those who might struggle with a little bit of alcoholism, we want you to. but no, it really is finding balance in there. I really encourage a lot of our parents, and I'm trying to get back to that. I think you need to have monthly dates with your children. one-on-ones where you can definitely get
Mm.
to know them better. And I do it this way. I usually have the child pick the first date and what that looks like. And then the parent, and you go kind of back and forth. And then even with your twin boys, taking Miles out one time, then taking Isaiah out a different time. And then you get a chance to get to know them better. And then also set up a non-judgmental zone. Now, we don't let them defy what the rules are and the boundaries, the household boundaries. I trick them a lot of times and say, well, let's have, especially age appropriateness, let's come up with some rules. What are some rules? What are the boundaries of our, what does dolphin name represent in our house? And then what are the consequences if we break these rules? So now when they do, you're like, hey, wait a minute. We sat down and agreed upon this. Are you breaking your own rule? So the consequence. So wait a minute. We got to go back. Then what changed? Then are we as a family a lie? And really challenging them, getting them to buy in on the punishments, getting them to, we should say, on the consequences for negative choices. I'm sorry, I have to put on my therapeutic hat.
You want me to remember that?
Right.
But that's real talk. Absolutely.
It is. Because
stuff,
you guys know I worked at group homes for over almost 15 years. The resounding thing I kept hearing when it got time for, we had this one particular young man, high school, about 10th grade. Every time it got time for him to reunify with his parents, specifically his father, the day before, he would always do something drastic so that he could not return home. And so I said, okay, wait a minute, this is a pattern. This is the third time we got here. What is going on? He goes, he doesn't love me. I said, why would you say that? Because every time I go home, I do whatever I want to. I don't even like drinking, but I drink to get drunk and I smoke and I stay out late. I break curve because I want him to discipline me.
He wants the attention.
He wants the attention. And he says, my job is to fight and to say I don't like it. But his job is to discipline me and put those boundaries on me because then I know he really loves me.
Do you think he was craving for that structure?
Yes.
In the house.
Yes.
Wow.
But I like what you said about having them help you create that, because then you get buy-in from them, and then you can hold them accountable, which is a life lesson, not just so I don't choke you.
We're not choking. We're firmly, as long as we don't leave any marks, we're okay.
We're firmly hugging.
But in the Black and brown communities, what you said that's revolutionary, because I know I grew up, you do it because I said so, and no reasoning why, and no buy-in. It's just, you do this. And so I think also that, one of the things that you want to give your tween and teen is confidence. And so what would you say about that? Because that is something that you battle as a parent, because you see them, you go, you're beautiful, you're handsome, and they don't see that. And so there is self-image. So what would you recommend about that?
I think one, I love languages. And finding out, I do it for all my daughters. Raven's love language is words of affirmation. Steve, you already know that. She goes, Raven, you're the apple of my eye. Ooh, you are the sugar in my coffee, baby. Dad, I know. She goes, look at me, your angel. I'm like, the devil herself. But words of affirmation, because even to this day, if she thinks I'm disappointed with her, or that I might say something that's contrary, or she's disappointed me, she breaks out in tears or gets extremely defensive. And I'm like, whoa.
As a grown woman.
As a grown woman, again, that reminded me the importance of daddy, the importance of, now she'll argue all day with her mom, but she won't with me, because I'm like, Raven. I'm like, wait. And I know, because my daughter, she hides her speech impediment extremely well. But when she
Mm.
gets upset, she can't get her words out.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when the stuttering comes in,
And
and
frustration
the
and
frustration, right? Because her
sure.
brain is
Mm.
working faster than what she can get it out. And
Right.
so I'll
And
have to
she's super smart, you know.
yes,
Nothing to
yes,
sneeze at. Tuskegee Institute and nothing to sneeze at.
it's not. And
Engineer of the world.
right. So she's teaching fourth grade summer school right now for
Nice.
Oh,
Moreno Valley Unified School District. And she's
Wow.
wow.
yes, and they want to hire her full time. So she loves teaching.
Congrats.
She
Yeah.
says she wants second graders because she can mold their minds before they get bad
Mhm.
in the third grade. But she is so creative. So for her, it was words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
For
Mm.
Christian, it was physical touch. So
Mm.
meaning he would walk by, I would trip him.
A little contact counseling.
Little contact, yeah. Or he was, but now when he started getting 16, 17, he was hit me. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, your head's getting a little too. You gonna break something. So even with that, even when one of his
Sure.
college basketball games that he blew big time, and I'm like, he goes, please not right now, Dad. And so I looked around and saw no one was around and just gave him this bear hug and said, you know what? I'm proud of you. Keep your head up. And he just kind of laid his head on my shoulder and was like, wow, thank you. You know,
Mm.
Mm.
so learning how to, and that's why I love languages, because we meet them right where they're at, right when they need it. Even if they
Mhm.
disagree, now I'm speaking to them in their love language. And that after you've made, I'll say this contact, or even after that incident or event might be over, they remember that.
Mm.
They
So
Mm.
speaking
do.
about love languages,
Hmm.
let's dive into that a little bit more.
Yes.
How do you, as a parent, figure out what your children's love language is? Can you
Yes.
explain a little bit more? How did you do? How did you go about figuring out theirs? I know there's a book, The Five
Yes.
Love Languages, and that kind of thing for an
Yes.
adult to read and figure out, take a little quiz. But how was you as a parent to have your kid read that and figure out you're
They got
clearly
free assessments now. Take less than 15 minutes. Uh,
Yeah, they
Fi-
do.
yeah, fivelovelanguages.com. They have a free assessment. I send
Mhm.
all of my couples to it in therapy, and then I tell them don't share it, but begin to act out the love language and see if you can guess your partner's right love language. With
Okay.
that. So the five love languages are, again, words of affirmation, like my
Hmm.
daughter always does. Says I got to affirm her like crazy. Um, Physical touch, and believe it or
Hmm.
not, physical touch in the marriage situation is not always sex. Physical
Right.
touch can be a hug. Physical touch can be just a gentle touch on the shoulder, or anything like that. Um, Words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts. And
Hmm.
gifts don't have to be expensive gifts. They can
Right.
be, like Michelle is on a business flight and she comes home and brings you the peanuts from the Southwest Airlines. Say, hey, I was thinking about you. You're like, oh,
Thanks, I think.
thanks. Yeah. Gifts that could be,
Right.
like, so it does not have to be a Gucci or Fendi or anything
Mhm.
like that.
Those are always good, though.
Those are always good. Okay.
Mhm.
Acts of service,
Sure.
where Steve might cook dinner and Michelle's like, oh, I don't want anything. You're like, do you know what I just did? All this to cook dinner and washed all the clothes and clean the house, and you just didn't say anything, and then all his right. We know he has no feelings, but he would never feel that way.
Hey, I cooked today.
Oh, okay. Okay. See?
He does most of the cooking now.
Oh, that's
See,
good.
you're welcome.
I barely cook
All
anymore.
right. All right. I'm still waiting for my old fashioned with that. Yes.
There you go. Okay.
Yes. And then the last one is quality time.
Sure.
Where you're just spending time together, and that feels their love tank.
Hmm.
And I will sometimes ask the kids, and after I explain that, says, where's your love tank? We know the tank of a car. Or is it full? Is it halfway full? And and some relationships are barely on fumes. The gas
Hmm.
light is on, and you about to push it into the gas station. And our responsibility then is to pour into the love tank to get it off of empty. And we can do that with our kids, and that's how, they understand those are more important a lot of times than buying the Xbox, the latest Jordans, and all these other things. We want to, oftentimes in our communities, we're guilty of that, gifting expensive gifts, which can pay for college tuition, hint, 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 as opposed to giving time, as opposed to giving love, and giving meaningful acts of service to demonstrate that you love. Showing up at a basketball game, showing up at a recital, that goes a long way.
Shows interest, and you actually genuine interest in your child's world.
Yes. Yes. Or going to a spelling bee, or sitting down and going through the homework, even if you don't understand it, seeing you guys struggle together, be like, I don't know. Do you understand?
Figure this out.
I'm gonna Google this.
Yes, let's Google this together.
Speaks volumes.
Yes, it speaks a lot of volume. So now you're modeling how to when things get difficult, not to give up, but to continue to press through. And that shows that the children are now a priority. You'll get better responses out of them when you take the time to do that.
Now, we talked about in our first episode, being that you're the mental expert that we have access to.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Michelle in the first episode. How important is it, and why is it so important, as you talk about being present, not presents, but being present by having dinner as a family with your children?
Ooh, I think that's so important. Just like I value date night with our kids, I also value at least one night a week that kind of is the standard, having family dinner together. And whether we share in the meal preparation, or if Isaiah prepares one week, and Miles prepares the next week, and little Steve prepares the following week. We don't know if little Steve and Raven can cook. That's a whole nother challenge.
Can you kill somebody?
just have lots of Pepto-Bismol. Right.
Yeah.
On IV.
Right. but that's a wonderful time to talk about school. It's a wonderful time to talk about friendships, relationships. It's a wonderful time to say, hey, what's going on? I've noticed something different about your behavior. You seem a little off. Is something bothering you? I think we have to be quick not to be judgmental. Like, what's wrong with you? Even though I want to some days, like, you're going to walk in my house and not speak, and I pay all that.
Yeah.
I need you to leave and come back in.
Right. Let's try
that again.
All over again. Right. I'm the same way. And I can say, okay. Don't be, even my kids like, I don't need the therapist, Dad. I was like, you're not getting a therapist, Dad.
I'm trying to calm myself.
I got my little Zen. Ding.
Okay.
Right. But no, Steve, I think you hit the nail. We have gotten away from that. Even if it's ordering in, since we don't like to cook, now I'm not gonna say a bucket of fried chicken. Let's get a baked chicken from Costco and make some sides along with it. We now we get to pour into our kids in a different way. It is so vitally important. It's the small things that really build the relationship, that now you can share your values. You get to hear what's going on. And I would even do this. No cell phones, no social media during dinner time.
Yeah. And when you were talking about the no judgment zone, that could perhaps be a good time, right? To have it no judgment, and you just let them talk during.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Now we as parents, we got to be prepared that if we say no judgment zone and we give them don't choke. It's almost
you don't know what they'll say.
Right. Or if we flip it, we were at family dinner. And here we are, my cousins RJ and Thea and all of them. So we at family dinner, and my mother looks at me in family dinner and says, "Are you having sex?" I'm like, "What? What? That's a question to ask."
Brace for impact.
Right.
No warning.
Right. No warning. So you know me, I throw everybody to say, I'm not, but RJ is.
You're Like,
But what a wonderful, now I guess that was her way of asking, am I dating, whatever. And dad was over in Ohio, so hey, so now we're talking about sex at the dinner table. I'm like, we're a weird family.
yeah.
Talking about sex at the dinner table, and you better wrap it up, or your daddy was a baby maker, so you don't want to be like, oh, judgment.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Alert.
You're like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want it.
But looking back on it, even though I was traumatized, I think then I appreciate that it gave the freedom to have conversations like that. And then my mom was like, hey, as old as I might be, I was once 16, 17. And, when you get married, both of y'all get a little hot in your body. So it created a conversation so that I didn't have to tiptoe around even those sensitive topics such as sex. And that's why we create these wonderful relationships with our parents. Even though the kids may not tell you the truth, you already kind of know.
Right.
But maybe down the road when they, because you built that foundation of them feeling more comfortable to talk to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you.
So the kind of the next area I wanted to ask you about was, of course, about Carol Dweck's fixed growth mindset. That's like a huge thing in the education world, fixed growth mindset. And then it was interesting because I was reading and watching a video on her TED talk about, she noted that a teenager who has a fixed mindset sees challenges as a moment to be judged and criticized, right? So you were talking about the no judgment zone. On the other hand, a teenager with growth mindset sees challenges as a way to learn and improve. And so kind of, my question to you is, what is the best approach as a parent so that your child can see hard work or challenges as a growth experience rather than attack on them personally? I mean, because we know they all have, weaknesses, and there's not just academically, but socially or even learning differences. And so how do you help them to see that as something they can grow from?
I think we as parents, where we make the mistake is trying to come across as if we're perfect, and we don't make mistakes. And one of the life lessons I learned was when I gave Christian permission to challenge me on something. So I could see he was upset. I said, well, say what's on your mind then. He says, you ain't gonna let me. You're not gonna like it. I was like, no, I won't punish you. Tell me what's on your mind. And so he challenged me. He says, well, you're punishing me for this, this, and this. And I saw you do the very exact same thing. And I only did what I saw you do. Talking about like,
ouch.
That whole adage of do what I say, not what I do.
Yes. And we have to be careful of that, because with that, I had to think about it. I was mad. I sent him to his room, and maybe about 30 minutes later I said, okay, you're right. However, we're going to fix this together. That was an opportunity. I said, you know what? And I'm going to work on this, this, and this. And thank you for bringing this to my attention, because you're right. I looked at it from totally this point of view, and I got mad with it. I said, now you're still going to get punished. However, the punishment is going to be lesser just because you brought it to my attention. Dad is not perfect, and we're going to grow together. And I think when we are able to do that together, I think it creates more respect in that. Do we want respect in the parent-child relationship? I'm going to, this is Marty. I want to say yes. Now, I have a role and responsibility to parent you, number one. Now, respect, number two, is a nice byproduct, but I know it can be a wonderful byproduct if I've set up boundaries and set up a playing field in which he can respect me because I'm modeling the right behavior in front of him. We all say, well, respect got to be earned. But we also have to model how we want. We have to show a mutual respect level again for our children as well. We have to make sure that the crime matches the punishment matches the crime. And if I could say it that way. And too often we're very harsh on them when they're modeling us. And I challenge one of my clients just today texted me at 6 o'clock in the morning and said, "Oh, I got to stop giving people my phone number." And he's having parenting problems, and no, he's not going to. So without call, he's got a couple different baby mamas, and so the daughter was calling the grandfather, the father of the father, her father, to tell on him and do all of this. But he's like, but I said, well, listen, you've led a raggedy life in front of her.
Yeah.
So she's going to act like this. Well, I'm hurt. Well, guess what? She's hurt too, because she needs her daddy.
Yeah.
So you cannot expect her to act any differently because you're desiring that. No, you have to model it and then tell her, I'm sorry. Oh, he was mad at me. Then he called me later on. Okay, you're right. You can't expect angels if you run around here being hellish.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You cannot. You cannot expect straight A students. It's that part. It's not fair. If you're not supporting them in their education, if you're not helping them say, hey, what's going on? If you're not looking at their homework, we all get the texts every day.
Sure.
What assignments are missing?
Absolutely.
Why aren't you following up? Why aren't you showing an interest? That's how we create this. That's why I love what you guys are doing. Ivy Bound LA. If we're trying to get our kids Ivy Bound, then we have to start in kindergarten.
Yeah.
We have to start there
and
really show an
interest.
A
caveat on that, to actually add on that, it's a switch you got to turn on.
Yes.
Basically, you got to say, I want this for my kids, and I'm willing to put in the work to get them there. Again, we talked about it before. It's a lot of sacrifice.
It's a lot of sacrifice.
It's a ton of sacrificing that had to be done. We chose the private school route, and we talked about that in the second episode.
Yes.
And we talked about how, we went from private school from day one all the way through high school, where they landed on a college preparatory high school named St. John Bosco in the city of Bellflower.
Right.
So those are the kind of things that stuff costs money, And did we go on vacation? No, we didn't do a lot of vacation because we were paying tuition. So, but
you did some wonderful staycations.
Absolutely, we made it work. Is it unfair to say you involve your kids in all the decision-making process that's going on to the point of we see Kathy. Go Bosco.
Go Bosco. Yes.
It's not just a football school.
Yeah.
It's super strong academics there. I'll challenge anyone to that conversation.
Right.
I witnessed it.
Listen, as you paid the check, wrote the check out each month.
Oh my gosh, exactly. So, and that's another thing too, so we talk about how is it important to involve your kids in all that type of decision-making process. So they'll see their friends going on vacation and wondering why they're not going on vacation. They'll see their friends being, buying the newest PlayStations or whatever, and all the new different toys, but yet they're in public school. So how do you, how do I say this? How do you, is it safe to say you should involve them in all of the decision-making process when it pertains to their education and future goals as they're growing up?
I think it is based upon their age and what they can handle. I think it's appropriate to share. We as a family are making this sacrifice for you. We are pouring into your future. We believe in you. That's why we have made this choice to pour into you and to do some sort of delayed gratification. And because you guys chose to do some staycation, it did not mean you guys didn't go to New York and see family. You guys were still very well connected. The young men didn't think that they missed anything. It's all in our mindset. We live in Southern California. We got the beach, we got the mountains, we got the desert, all right there. We got vacations within vacation. We can hop in our car 6 hours. We can be up in the Bay Area. Hey, here's the Golden Gate Bridge. Here's this. So many other things that we can do. We have to be creative. I say it this way. People will pay for what they value.
That's so true.
Say it again.
Yeah, people will pay for what they value.
Absolutely.
like we said earlier, if we go into the average Black and brown homes and look in their closets over stuff that depreciates and has no value.
At the purchase date, that's a tuition check.
Yes. Or the new cars or the latest iPhones and all that. That's tuition right there.
Yeah.
You got 6 iPhones. That's almost for Cal State, Fullerton, or any of your Cal States or anything. And you push me, I'll press the UCs. If you come home, you paid almost a semester tuition.
Yeah.
And I still got iPhone 7.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do have an 11. I'm sorry.
I do too.
But you keep pressing with your 7. Does it even work?
That's his choice.
Right. Oh, no wonder it takes so long for you to respond to my text messages.
He's lucky he can do emojis, right?
Right. Does yours even, is it color?
I know.
Okay. And I'm a tech guy.
Right. Do not tell your.
See what I go through? Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Right. Hey, Joseph, it's good to see you out there. Yes. But when we value education, when we value, I say it this way, Steve and Michelle, you guys understand. Your sons are standing on your shoulders. We have to now think generational wealth.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And stop always reinventing and digging ourselves out of the hole of debt. Your boys having a wonderful opportunity that they get to stand on your shoulders of the sacrifices that you have made to afford them now much more generational wealth for their children in the future. So we're doing, that's how we build this, so that now going to an Ivy League for the Dolphin family, it's just understood that's what we do.
Yeah.
Your last name was Dolphin? I'm sorry. You're not going to Harvard. You're not going to Yale. You're not going to USC and Stanford. Oh,
absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yes, but
you're regular.
Right. We will allow you to go to UC Berkeley. We know it's still, on the
as the words of Brent Jones. You're regular.
Yeah. We want to talk about him. Right. Regular.
But you brought up, just you talking right now made me think of a lot of times it's our own fears and our baggage as a parent.
Yes.
That, we talked about in the last episode that one of the things that my parents being from the East Coast, they're loud talkers. It was a loud household all the time, right? And that is not something that I like at all. And it would disturb me. And
you
so
married Steve, though.
I know. And he would always say, "Why do you guys talk so low?" So Miles and Isaiah and I talk low.
And you project.
And we're more quiet, right? So because this one over here, right? So, but I didn't want to put that on them. That's just something I knew for myself that I didn't like. And it just so happened that they turned out that they didn't like that either. But but how do you? Because we all have baggage, and how do you prevent that from being a crutch to your child? Because I've heard parents say they don't allow. Kathy that came in, she's a good example of that. Her son's at Georgetown, super successful, brilliant
Come
kid.
on, Georgetown.
Right? And so she was okay with her son going wherever he was going to be successful. But I hear other parents, say, "Oh, I don't want, my son or daughter to go far away." And it's sometimes their own fears or just I don't know, So how do you? What language do you tell parents to? Because you can't say, you need to check your baggage.
Right. I think we have to address what are our own fears.
Okay.
We got to deal with our own fears. And I'm going to say this: do we have some attachment and issues and some separation anxiety that we're dealing with as well? At some point we have to give them room to grow. I'll be trying to push mine as far away as you want to go to Ireland. Let's go to Ireland and go to school. There's got to be
have attachment issues.
Yes. Yes. I love. Thank you, Act of Faith, Kathy. You're absolutely
Absolutely.
right with that. And as and that's what it comes to. If we're building them up to be independent, I
Mm.
guess for me, a good sign that you've done a great job is when they feel confident enough
Mm.
that they can leave the nest and go
Mhm.
far away, knowing that they
Mhm.
can always come back home. Home is going to
Mhm.
be here. I'm like,
Sure.
please, will you please leave my house and go get it? And as Claire Huxtable said, go discover America, please.
Yeah.
And the other thing is too is along those lines is we live in an age of communication. So
Yes,
regardless if they're as far as way they can get from you physically,
yes,
we
yes.
still talk to our boys, a couple times a week. We check
Right,
in, we text, and
right,
they call us, we call them. You'll
right,
be
right.
FaceTime. So yes, it's different, but you can if you and I think that's goes tied into the foundation of your
Yes,
relationship with your
yes,
kids. Because if your
yes,
relationship foundation is strong, then they want to connect with you and talk to
yes.
you and check in on you as much as you want to check in on them to make sure they're not out there acting a fool,
Right,
wilding
right.
out in parties.
Right. When my son was at Wisconsin, Superior, up in the Superior, Wisconsin, now it was cold as all. When Lake Superior freezes over and they got a
Mm.
big old truck out there in the middle of the lake,
Whew.
it's cold.
Right.
Yeah. Woo.
Not for me.
But yeah,
My skin is too thin.
but like you say, we spoke all the time. I think we
Sure.
had a closer relationship when he was far away than when he was down the hall. I'm like, what? um, but you're right. Now with modern technology, I was broke. I didn't like paying my this when long distance calls were a lot of money then when I was
For
Yeah,
younger.
sure.
I
When raising
remember
was the
You
that.
way,
know,
yeah, yeah,
yes. I didn't have a home phone at the apartment. I was like, I ain't
sure.
paying that bill. So I was like, we had signals. Collect call from Marty. Will you accept? When I got to the airport, no, that letter. I said, okay, I'm safe. Bye.
I remember doing that.
That's ghetto.
Right.
Don't judge
That's
us.
ghetto.
Don't judge us. Don't judge us.
Listen,
Don't act
I
like
lived in
you're all
That's a
above that.
that's some old
right.
ghettoologist stuff.
It worked, right?
It sure did, and I still got my degree. Thank you. I was on a student's budget. Please,
Right.
look, financial aid wasn't paying for my phone bill.
Yeah.
This is before pagers. Come on. But really, I think for the parents, we got to put ourselves in check. And so even when my son went to Superior, I flew out there with him. I stayed a week. I helped him get in his dorm. I helped him, get everything settled.
Hmm.
Walk through class because that was the first time he had been away. And then in the Midwest and the North Midwest, that was cold. Um,
Hmm.
it took us 3 hours to drive to the campus. So that was the middle of nowhere.
Wow. Hmm.
Right. But it was a great time and it was a great learning experience for him.
And great
Uh,
memories.
Hmm.
Great memories, yes.
Sure.
And he got to stretch himself, he got to grow, all of those things. And so that's what we do. And so to answer that, I think we have to, as parents, make sure we're not at that point imposing our own personal values that might be contrary to that
Mm.
of our child or our young adult now who's going off to school, and making sure we have to keep our own emotions in check. Say, why am I feeling this way?
Wow.
And really do an internal check within ourselves.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah, that's true.
now. We're going to change gears a little bit here.
Okay.
Like we want to talk about some strategies building a child's self-esteem, and I guess, connect with them. How they connect with social media and how they fight or combat the whole social media realm as a tween and teen. Because you hear, I mean, in your line of work, you're probably inundated with a number of parents coming to you about, hey, how do we help
Mm-hmm.
our kids alleviate the stress and the
Mm-hmm.
whole the whole social media bombardment of
Mm-hmm.
that's their new norm. You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we kids have to deal with that. So how do we combat? How do parents? What tools can we give the parents to deal with that?
Yes. From a business point of view, I love social media because
Hmm.
it definitely has increased my business. So definitely love that. But I think again it goes back to boundaries. And what are we saying as a family is a
Mm-hmm.
healthy social media barometer and a measure within our family of what we are viewing and deeming what is enough for us. Because we
Mm-hmm.
have to make sure, Apple has it and so many other ones that shows you how much time someone has spent on social media. Um,
Mhm.
if baby, I bought the phone, and so I have the opportunity. I'm gonna let you know. I have the opportunity of doing random checks on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain things that we establish. Now, I'm not just going. I'm going to tell you. I'm about to do a random check. You got 5 minutes, or every now and then can do a surprise spot check. But I'm not. We're having this communication before we go into the social media. We have this conversation before you get the iPhone or your cell
Mm-hmm.
phone. So we have these conversations and we set up parameters. Here's how you get to
Mm.
keep it. Grades need to be up. Da, da, da. I'm just using those as examples. And
Sure.
again, what do you think should be the parameters of you keeping the phone?
Mm.
Nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
We're going to, in fact, here's the poster board. Here's the marker. I want you to write it. Yes, you write it because it's in your handwriting. I want you to put in your words. We all agree, and we sign it.
That's a legal document.
There we go. There we go. See
I
that?
could sue you.
Right. Right. And we put it in a public place where we
Mm.
all can see. We can frame that mug if you want. We can put a nice little border around it, and with that. So again, you broke rule number 3. Come on, that
Mm-hmm.
was your signature, right?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I didn't
Oh,
forge
okay.
it.
Right.
That's
I
against the
can't even.
law.
Right. And I say that because in doing that, again, I think buy-in is so important.
Mhm.
And having
There's that buy-in
clear,
again.
yes, having those
Mhm.
clear directions, those clear understandings. And again, when they buck you, like, I'm sorry. It-
Mm.
this is what we all agreed upon.
Right.
You're going again. You're teaching them values. You're teaching them respect. You're teaching them to be a person of their word.
And
So
ownership.
now,
Yeah.
ownership, yes,
Mhm.
Absolutely.
accountability.
Accountability.
Did this thing when I was a executive director of a charter school, and I taught them what we call bringing your A game to work, and
Mm.
we call bring your A game to school. What was the first one? Attitude,
Mm.
accountability. All these type of. There were 7 A's. I got old and I forgot the rest of them. And so and that's about all of that. It said if you have the right attitude, I'm holding you accountable. And why
Mm.
accountability is so important. If you're bringing your A game, anyone who is not accountable and does not hold themselves accountable, you're no longer bringing your A game. And in this
Mm.
family,
Mhm.
we always bring our A game because we always have a positive attitude.
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, Attitude is the thing that adds up to 100% every time. If you
Mm.
took like A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and you do that with the whole alphabet, when you add up attitude, you get 100%. And
Wow,
you
I
Mm.
need to
love
bring
that.
a 100% of a positive attitude every day.
Wow.
And that's a life skill too,
It
because
is.
no matter how things are thrown at you, when they go out in the world, they have to
Yes.
have a positive attitude.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, that
S-
is so
s-
true. And
Yeah.
because one of the things that I see as an educator is that they teenagers are often determining their self-worth by social
Mhm.
media, how many
Social
likes they
media.
get. I call it the microwave generation. Like, you put it
Yes.
in and it's like, ding, oh, okay, they like me, they like me, they like
Yes.
me.
Yes.
And how, and I know you touched on this, but a lot of times it's not real, and I like to
Mhm.
call it, I love
Mhm.
Facebook, those, but
Mhm.
it's like fake book. No one's going to put,
Oh, that's
For
good.
real. Yeah.
they're not going to be like, oh,
In
I'm
turmoil.
depressed, look at me.
Right,
Some people
right.
do, but in majority of people, their life looks lovely,
Yes.
and it's not the real thing. And so, as a parent, how do you build their self-worth? Or what are some, I know you said knowing their love language, but
Mhm.
what are some other ways when things don't go their way, when they have failures?
Mhm.
What are the words or the strategies to use to help them say, that has you didn't do well in that, but that doesn't mean you're not a great person, you know?
I love the concept, like you were saying, of failing forward.
Mm-hmm.
We use this as an opportunity. What can we learn and what can we do differently next time? Because life is full of failures. And I think, especially if your kids are already athletically inclined or they're part of a team, we know that it's very rare that most teams go undefeated.
Right.
Sure.
The Lakers didn't go undefeated.
Right.
And so we teach them that's a great opportunity, one, to learn from your mistakes and try not to repeat them. Two, that's an opportunity for us to share areas we made some mistakes in. I use this analogy all the time. Sorry, I'm looking for something real quick. If I have it, yes, I do. This is the biggest billion-dollar mistake ever. The Post-it note. Do you know this was a mistake?
Really?
If you go back and look at the story, how it was invented, the guy couldn't get the glue right, so he just had these all around 3M, and he was giving them to his kids and all that. I just need one big mistake, just like this.
Yep.
Yes.
And I will be good for life.
Funny you say that. WD-40
Mistake.
The spray, a big mistake.
Yes.
It took 40. The 40 came from the formula. It's the 40th attempt.
Wow.
That actually worked.
What? See?
But they didn't give up. They didn't stop at 39.
No, that's good. See, those are learning opportunities. When you see that every office across the world has Post-its in it.
Oh yeah.
And homes.
And home. Right. You see, I looked and got stuff. This is a multi-billion-dollar mistake. And mistakes can lead into how do we turn that mistake around and make it a win? Yes. So that's a wonderful opportunity to do that. Sharing our own personal mistakes, sharing our own time.
When you say that, your own personal mistakes, I asked Miles and Isaiah, like, what are some things that we could have done better, now that they're 20, and you brace for impact. But one of the things that they said was that, Steve and I weren't always this, educated, sitting here like, there was club days, there was wilding out in college, there was, drinking going on in college. And
that's a good kid.
We didn't, whatever.
I was saved.
Whatever. There was all, that, but of course it's not appropriate to talk to them, when they're in junior high school and be like, oh yeah, I used to drink. But Miles and Isaiah were like, it would have been nice if we would have talked to them a little bit more about, I thought I was protecting them by not talking about, alcohol or not talking, talking about sex but not like from our perspective of like, ooh, I shouldn't have done this or, when, and so I think on that, it's not a regret. It's just a reflection, okay, yeah, I could have. But what do you think is the appropriate, to share, hey, I didn't do well at that, or I drank, or because, some parents believe, oh, I know they're going to drink in high school, so I'm going to have them drink at home, that kind of perspective, which we weren't okay with that, Right. But it's not judging people. That's just how they decided to do things. But when is the appropriate time to really, what do you think, to talk to them about that?
I think that's when how we talked about earlier, how you have to individualize your parenting structure and your parenting skills. When you have a great relationship with your adolescent, your teen, or what have you, you will know. You'll get an opportunity to know what they can handle and what they can't handle, what maybe you need to water down, or maybe what you don't need to water down. With that, I'm 2 weeks younger than Jesus. Don't say nothing, Steve. Just nod your head and smile and nod. Our parents was like, "Go get me a beer," and you know how you just go.
Yeah.
All that. They knew we took a sip of it with that, because you're like, ooh, this is so nasty. Or I was like, ooh, this is nasty. You're like, you ain't supposed to be drinking. Give me that. When Christian was probably 20, before he turned 21, I already knew the Negro had been out there trying something. Like, you might as well try this. But I said, now you cannot do this. So I knew, if anything, I don't want him to get drunk, but I wanted him to be responsible. He saw me drinking. So I said, listen, you need to be responsible. So RJ, Lord have mercy, my brother and all them, he got drunk on his 21st birthday. That was kind of good because he kind of threw up. And he's like, I don't like this. This is mad. He said, hey, well,
I don't like it.
Right. So, I was teaching him, listen, you got to make sure you have food in your stomach. Listen, you will not drink and drive. You will, and so knowing when to his basketball. I strategically, there was some, like you guys made some sacrifices when his mother and I got divorced. I strategically found a place across the street from the high school because I wanted to know who his basketball friends were. I wanted my house to be the hangout spot, which it was. So I can hear them. There were times, because I had a flexible job, I'd be upstairs in my bedroom. I shut my door. I parked in the garage. They didn't know I was there. I'd just be listening to everything. Come downstairs. Oh, Mr. Sellers. I'm going to just casually put these condoms here on this.
Just having to fall out on the table.
Right. You don't need them because you're not doing anything, but you can't afford to be a baby daddy. So,
right.
So here you go.
Right. Hey, listen, and if your parents ask, unless it's your daddy, I'm denying it.
Yeah.
I don't know where they got that from. But one of the best things, those kids came back and later said, you know what? Thank you for being so honest and transparent, and allowing us to have those conversations that sometimes my parents weren't as comfortable, or it allowed me to have the conversation and with them. The first couple times they were nervous, but by the time I kept asking them again, they were more comfortable about it. And my thing was like, y'all got to get some scholarships or something. Y'all ain't gonna sit around here and talk about babies and all this all the time. Y'all can't. You can't afford to have a baby.
Right.
Just sit them down.
Eat yourself.
Right. So y'all come in here and eat up all my food. How you gonna eat? Provide for a baby?
Yeah.
So
well,
those
guys,
were the age appropriate things. No, thank you so much.
But I think that was important because it goes to laying that foundation and what you said. And one of the biggest takeaways that there's a lot of things I took away from what you said, but one of the things is that foundation and the transparency and having that relationship, because I think that if you have a relationship, you can help guide them along the tough tween and teen years. And so if there's anything you want to say to wrap up,
I said, don't be afraid of our kids.
Yes.
How many parents are afraid of their own kids? Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to have the conversation. 9 chances out of 10, they're waiting for you to initiate the conversation anyway, and be open to what they have to say. I love that, Kathy.
Absolutely,
honest
Kathy.
And openness. It is so key. And a dose of reality check. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate you as well. We have to, and don't be afraid to laugh with your kids. Don't be afraid to cry with them. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and be truthful with them.
And one of the things that I would give Michelle a lot of props, because when they were away at school, she actually asked them, "What do you need from us?" And I think that was a very pivotal moment, because a lot of times we as parents, we want to be so involved, to a fault, that we fail to hit the mark on what they need from us. Now they're away at school. So I think a lot of times too, being that they're so far away from us, we want to be like, oh my God, we're already anxious that they're away and in our den, so we can protect them, especially as a father.
Right.
So the question she asked them and asked each of them was, what do you need from us? So that I don't overstep my boundaries with you. And I think that opened a conversation that was amazing.
Well, it was also because I was having my own little pity party of like, they're grown men now. Where do I fit in?
Right.
With them?
Yes.
And
that's a transition.
Yeah. And they were changing, and even as like teenagers change, and I was like, I don't know where to fit in. I mean, it was easy when they were, riding in my car every day going to work, because we went to the same place, but then now I don't see you and you've matured and now you have this little swag and all this and I don't know how to fit in with you.
Hey, Rashida.
Hey, Rashida.
Yes.
Hey, Coop. Yeah, so I think
that's a great question, Michelle, and it's very open-ended because it invited them. You invited them to give input on how you could have a different relationship with them. So yes, excellent.
Yes. Well, thank you, Marty. We appreciate it. I mean,
you're amazing.
I don't know what you're gonna do, but you're gonna need to open up some spots for people because
come on in.
There's gonna be more people.
They can't come on in because you're too booked.
Listen, I got some other amazing therapists. I really, really do.
Okay, well,
so yes. How can the people reach you? What are some of the ways they can get in contact with you to further the conversations with a mental health expert that you are? And your organization and how to, so basically how do people reach you?
Yes. I have a podcast and a vlog that I do. Rashida, thank you. Mental Health Matters with Marty. You can find me on Facebook and also on my podcast that I do on Spotify, on some of the others. I can't even think. iPhone, some
Apple,
of the other Apple, all those. And that's what I do. And then my business is called Marcel Consulting. But if you go to mentalhealthmarty.com, you'll find everything you need right there. mentalhealthmarty.com. And you definitely have all the information. There is a contact me, and I respond to all the emails myself personally because they come directly to me, and we can get you set up for whatever you might need.
Well, thank you, because that is, like you said, in the Black and Brown community, we're not always open to this, but there are so many tools and strategies that you can give them to not only help them as parents, but also help them parent their teenagers.
Listen, we all need help. Steve knows I called him and Brent and Vin's on about to kill this Negro if y'all don't come and intercede. But it's all about support. But thank you both so much for this opportunity. I'm so proud of both of you and the knowledge that you guys are sharing with so many people. Don't give up. Keep doing what you're doing. Your platform is so needed. And I would not be surprised if different podcasters and everything are going to be reaching out to you guys very, very soon with that, because your information is so valuable. You guys are sharing life-lived experiences. And before I go, Michelle, Steve gave you a compliment.
Did you hear that?
I'm growing, man. I'm growing.
I'm gonna play it back, Marty.
Right. You better keep it.
I'm gonna play it back.
Is that a love language?
I don't know. We just excited that you just gave. He gave, and then he acknowledged wasn't a love. Woo! I don't know.
You saw how I looked at him. I was like,
who is this guy? This ain't my. Well, the real Steve, please show up. This imposter right here.
Oh, we got jokes.
I'm sorry, but thank you guys. Love you.
Hey guys, thank you again for joining us today. This is amazing. It's our very first live session, and we can't wait to do this again. So if you guys have any questions, drop it in the comments below. Leave it on YouTube. Text us. You can find us on all social media platforms at IVBoundLA. So on Facebook, YouTube, you can hit us on Instagram, Twitter, you name it, we're on there. We're here to help you understand how to deal with your kids and get them to the Ivy League. All right, y'all.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support. Bye.